Money is very emotional. It's one of the most emotional things. That's why I love this business. I don't love it because the investing. I love it because I'm a certified financial planner, but I say certified financial person. Like, I deal with people. It's an art, man. My goal is to make an impact on people, right? I think that's what you're now trying to figure out, because you're like, I've already done this, I've already had the family. What you're really trying to do is now, how much more of an impact can I make on people, right?
Yeah, I want to create legacy, man.
And legacy is huge. I think my biggest accomplishment was personally impacting the people around me that are helping me with what I want to create. So, and like seeing them smile, coming up to me like, you don't know how much you like helped me and changed me. And like that to me is more than like, oh, I just closed like a $2 million client. It's about the company, because in the end, like, who's gonna, like, you can't take your money with you, but like at your funeral, like, who's gonna show up and like,
and who's gonna have the stories to tell for generations to come. Well, excellent. Well, today we've got one of my buddies from Instagram, as a matter of fact. His name is Chris Wise, and there's so many different layers to Chris Wise. He's an influencer. He's not a professional podcaster, but I've seen his content. It's some good shit.
Hell yeah.
But he also owns a financial planning firm that I think he took over from his dad. He said, hey, Dad, you're not doing it right. Get out the door, right? Let me grow at 10x without you. And then I just recently found out that he's also in the music business. And so, you know, move over the Dos Equis, man. We've got Chris Wise, the most interesting man alive. So
yeah.
Excellent. I'm excited to have you in the podcast studio, man. So you were telling me whenever we were walking up that your mom was scared that you were going to tell some stories. So let's just get that shit out of the way.
Yeah.
Give me some wild stories from maybe your family and upbringing.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing is the upbringing was both my parents were married before. So I'm the second marriage. They didn't have kids. So like my parents were grown-ass people. They already had successful careers, and then they had me.
Okay.
So like I was already doing presentations when I was 8 years old. Why I needed to get this and get that, Mom. I was like, Mom, I'll take the trash out for 2 weeks. I'll shut up because, you know, I'm really obnoxious.
Yeah.
At least, you know, while we're eating dinner. And then we make deals. But, you know, my mom's upbringing, I think, was the biggest, because Bruce, my dad, always gets the most because he's loud like me, big presence. But Mom behind the scenes, like her successes to me is like what's created me, because she's high energy. She's a mover and shaker. Right. And the big thing was, you know, my grandfather, he was very educated, especially back in the 1940s. People didn't go to college. He was in the oil business, failed, then decided to go into the nightclub, strip club business, which from my grandmother, who's from Mission Espada, that is, you know, that's very Catholic, obviously. It's from Spain. Okay. It's the original Mission guys, by the way. They probably heard of the Alamo. We were number one. Mission Espada, we were the first ones here.
Okay.
And so, like, that didn't go well. And you know, only having a third grade education, my mother saw how like a man can, you know, be controlling over everything.
Interesting.
And so my mom's like, I don't need a man, and I'm going to prove that. Went to U of H. So my mom's a cougar. And she graduated.
A literal cougar.
Literal. Yeah. Actually, I'll show you a picture of her. She's 70 years old, and you're going to be like, dude, she looks 50. I'm like, I know. We got good genes, baby. You know, we age well in this family. And so she graduated at 20, worked for Maybelline, first wholesaler as a woman. I said, I didn't know men, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't know men sold makeup, you know, back when I was a little kid. And she's like, that was actually, it was a good business, right?
Yeah.
And then she did that. Then she worked for Johnson & Johnson, selling medical equipment in the 80s. Only woman again. Did very well. That was interesting. She's got a lot of things to say about that. You know, a lot of friends I know that are in the industry, like, oh, I get hit on all the time. I was like, think about if you're the only woman in the room. Yeah. Did that, and then she went to the refinery business over here, selling parts, while I was even in her stomach. So I always make a joke. I said, Mom, I'm all fucking weird and stuff because you literally were pregnant and walking around refineries. I'm like, I don't think you were supposed to be in there. You know, she's like, yeah, but we were making deals, son.
100%.
And so that's kind of where that, because people are like, hey, where'd you get the energy? Because that's what I'm most known for. I was like, it's not actually from my dad, it's actually from my mother.
It's that radioactivity, baby.
Radioactivity.
Well, so you make a statement about how amazing and incredible your mom is, right? I don't need a man. I'm going to start my own career. I'm going to see success in 3 completely different industries. And then I asked you, I say, what's your relationship status? You said I'm 33 and single. Well, it kind of sounds like the bar is just so fucking high to where you're not willing to accept anything less than Wonder Woman is what it seems.
Yeah, because I was in a relationship, a serious one, over a year ago. So I learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot about myself. So it wasn't like I've been single for a long time. It's been like a year, and I was in a serious one. But it taught me, that was probably one of the most influential people ever. And I'll give her credit for that. we had our issues. I wish her the best. She just wasn't my person, and I
Sure.
get that now. And but that was also what's going to make me better. The next person, and figuring out like what I really want. And you have to go through things in life to figure out what you want. You might think that you want something, and then you get it, and you're like,
100%.
this is not what I want.
Oh, dude, I've been there, man. What I wanted in 2019, I got, and then I said, this isn't what I fucking want. Then I had something in 2020, 2021. It was really, really exciting until it wasn't.
Yep.
Right? Then I dated someone in 2023 who I thought I was going to put a ring on. And then that ended, right? Because there was a misalignment with regards to mission, vision, not really values, but if the vision isn't aligned, then why are you even trying to work towards something if you're working in different directions? So I understand.
Because it's gonna end anyways. It's almost, you can only hold it for so long.
Absolutely.
And you got to be on the same page. And I learned that too through Dr. K, my mental health coach, right?
Excellent.
Like, and I try to tell dudes, and I've been very open about it because I'm a very, my tail's always wagging, my tongue's out. That's why I got a golden retriever, because I got that golden retriever energy. However, I want to be better. And so that's why I go to one. And he was talking about, he's like, you got to grow together. And if you guys stop growing, or you guys don't decide, oh, I want to grow, but I don't, that's not going to work out for the long run, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for sharing that story. So let's talk a little bit about your career in wealth management, right?
Yep.
So I know you own a boutique practice. It's called Wise
Capital Partners. Wise Up.
Wise Up. Is that trademarked? You throw
I
that
can't.
out
There's like 10 of them. I can't. I tried to trademark it, and I was like, oh my God, there's so many of them.
That's
but
so
I just
funny.
would say that. I was like, I asked the lawyer, I was like, but it's my last name. He said, that's not how it works.
Yeah, I understand. Well, good. So let's tell a story, maybe from your childhood or upbringing that really kind of influenced your desire to go into financial planning.
Oh, I got a great one. So my first business, Wise House and Pet Service. You'll notice I literally brand everything Wise. Like that's just, I mean, why not? My dad even said, he's like, you can't, why do you want to rename it this? Like, because, in the business, like lawyers, like you don't want to use your last name for selling purposes. I was like, yeah, but our last name is not just a word. It's an adjective. It's a noun. Like, it's not the same. So I started Wise House and Pet Service. Mom's idea to make it a business, her business mind. Yeah. And so I would, like the Home Alone days, right? Yep. So I'd turn people's lights on, and I'd feed their animals, but I was never on time. So I was always late, or I was always early, so they don't know if someone's home. And I earned $50 one week, right? And my dad comes up to me and he says, hey son, if you give me that $50, we can put it in the market and it can make you money. And I was 8. I was like, market? What do you mean? I want candy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And he's like, okay, let me explain to you, son. Like, see how your money will grow over time? This $50 will turn into $100. You know what? I'll make you a better deal. I'll match you.
Ooh.
I will put in another 50 and we'll put it in the market and let it grow. And then I'll give you like a little toy. Mm-hmm. But over time, this will grow and it'll be even more than what you put in.
Interesting.
I tell clients this, they're like, dude, your dad never matched me ever. I said, yeah, that's called commingling. It's illegal. I'm his son.
Understood.
And doing that also influenced me, like, wow, like, I understood equities. I even went to Boston when I was like in 5th grade. And I told like some of the managers that I was investing in, it was called Pioneer Mutual Funds. It was like one of the big mutual fund companies, and their headquarters is over there in Boston. And the head portfolio manager, my dad made me, I was playing N64 at the Ritz, I was like, ooh, having a blast. He's like, come down. I was like, no, like I'm playing, video games, come down there. And he said, tell them what you feel about the market. And I was like, and this is 99, before the .com bubble. Yeah. And I was already Googling everything because one of my friend's brothers told me about Google, and I was like looking up stuff I probably shouldn't have. That was, what I'm saying? And I was like, ooh, this is great. I can find anything. And I'll never forget my dad saying like, I don't know how that's ever going to make money, son. In their heads, how
Google.
could they? Yeah, Google, right?
Yeah.
But that was the number 13 search engine at the time.
Yeah.
So what I actually told the PM, I was like, hey, man, a lot of these websites are fake, because I'd go on Google and look them up during the .com bubble. Like, these aren't real companies. And he's like, oh, really? I was like, yeah. And I was explaining it to them, year or two later, had the .com bubble. Yeah. So, you listen to your kids, man.
And explain the .com bubble, because I feel like we're in this age of social media marketing and e-commerce to where there are a lot of businesses that prop up to look like real entities.
Yep.
They aggregate capital. They, in theory, invest your capital, right?
Yep.
And or it's just a bridge to another e-commerce platform where you buy a shirt for $80, they buy it for $11, drop ship it to you, right? Yep. And so I feel like we're in a new .com bubble right now. Give us a little bit of insight.
I think the biggest thing to tell people is more like, do your due diligence on what you're investing. No matter what, if you don't understand something, you shouldn't put your money in. So like I tell people, even like, for example, like crypto, like like, do you understand Ethereum or Bitcoin? And they're like, other than the fact that it's called Bitcoin, it's called it's a crypto. If you don't put your money in it because you're going to be very mad at yourself. I think the AI bubble is like the top of the subject versus what you're saying because AI is just a craze, right? Everyone's talking about what is AI, even for our industry, because like, oh my God, is AI going to take over financial planning?
Yeah.
But people need to realize this business is not about portfolios and charts. This business is about relationships.
Absolutely.
And that's something that AI still can't do. It doesn't have the human element.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm not concerned for our industry. I think people like myself who are more emotionally intelligent and less chart, don't get me wrong, we can go over that. But like that's going to be, that's where it is. But when it comes to that, you got to just do your due diligence where things are moving and understand, okay, who owns this, who owns that? I mean, even like our own government's talking about, remember, like you have to register all your LLCs. Why are they doing that? Because they want to see how the money's flowing. Of course, there's legal stuff.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but it's also to show like what you just said. Like, well, if I put it in here and I put it in here, but he owns this entity and owns this entity, and he's actually making money off of here.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing it too. That's why they say they're doing it.
Yeah. No, and there's corporations that have gotten away with fuzzy accounting for generations, right? And I'm all for putting in mechanisms and alerts and controls to make sure that I'm not the only motherfucker paying my hundreds of thousands in federal income tax, that Trump's ass needs to be too, right? Well, good. So walk me through maybe a story of where you talked about Bitcoin, you talked about Ethereum, investing in something that you know. Walk me through a story about when maybe you or somebody that was close to you invested in something that they didn't know and it really failed them.
Oh, I think a big one is everyone, and you're talking about social media, so I want to bring it all back, is flipping houses. I love that. I got clients that do it. I support my friends that do it, but there's certain people, they see it on social, and they're like, oh my gosh, this looks so easy. I said, there ain't nothing passive about this real estate shit. The word ass is in there. It's going to make you look like an ass real quick because people think that, oh my gosh, I need to buy a house and flip it. It's the most simple thing. You got the general contractor. You never know about the location. You never know about the rates when you did it. A lot of these, influencers, they already bought their homes prior to 2020, refinanced, and they look like heroes.
100%.
And then they're like, well, the question is, are you buying houses? Yeah, of course. Yeah, but they also have already created the equity to be able to take the chances while you start from zero.
Yep.
And I think a big thing for people was they didn't know what they were getting into. It looks sexy. You see these videos, the drones coming in. Look at this house, blah, blah, blah. Look, if I own 10 of these, I'm retired, man.
Yeah.
And people found out it wasn't as easy, especially if you got in post 2020, post 21, rates start coming up. Totally different game. I know people that had to take out credit cards just to keep it going.
Wow.
They still haven't sold it yet. They're break even because they were able to come out break even. But like, what a learning lesson for them. That's what I always tell them. Like, especially a client, I'm like, this was probably the best lesson you'll ever learn.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's great. Even like things in my career where things have failed and. We took a fund public and then everyone got fired except for me and 4 people because I could run the entire sales desk because I got more energy than most people. I mean, I'm like 5 people in one sometimes, right? Well, guess what? What I learned? I was like, holy shit, like know what you're getting into, know what the fund is. But my dad said the best thing ever. And I always take it. It's like, Chris, you got paid to learn this though. You didn't lose anything. Yeah. You decided not to go to New York City. You didn't take the job. But then guess what? Since I didn't do that, I came back here and then I ended up buying up the firm. So like things work out. But I think the biggest one that I see personally is the real estate. Because everyone there's some guys I know that they're fucking killing it.
Yeah.
But it's not just like, I just think the attitude of certain people are like, oh, this is going to be so easy, man.
Yeah. No, and those guys that are killing it, right? Because I've got several that are very close to me, some of my very best friends or people that are in dating relationships with my friends. And it's people that have been in the space for 20 plus years, right? They lived through 08, right? They lived through the downturn of 14, 15. They've lived through now the downturn of 22, 23, right? And the reason why they're capitalizing is they're gobbling up the assets of all the motherfuckers that are just having to sell to get out from under the debt because they didn't know what they were doing, right? And so I think it's important to know that if you want to get into a vertical, you do need to be hyper educated on it, but not just educated on the last 3 years, but the last 30 years.
Yep.
The last 80 years, because I think we've all been told that history repeats itself. And I think that we're starting to see that. Absolutely.
Well, that's why I think market history is so important, right? Like, that's why I'm a huge believer of understanding all the different markets. Even before I was born, clients are like, you weren't even around in 87. But I was like, I could probably tell you more about what happened in 87 than you can. Like, all, that's how, like, the Fertitta, how he got wealthy is like all the Texas banks, right? He took out $1 million loan. I remember this reading the books. That's one of the easiest stories because it's so simple to read, right? And then the 87 crash happened. Texas had more state banks than any other state. They all crashed. He didn't have to pay until the Fed came back. And they were like, hey, you owe us $1 million. I think it was like 2 or 3 years later. And he's just like, here's a check. And I remember that in the book. I was like, see, like, but those things happen. And like, I think overall, if you don't understand history, like, it's going to bite you in the ass. And it's right there for you. Don't get me wrong. Everything's different too in a way. But like you said, like, it repeats itself. But it also, it rhymes or whatever the hell that whole story is. But I'm a firm believer in that, just like how we have bubbles and people forget about it. It's hard to see one when you're in the trenches.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you talk about Fertitta and that $1 million, right? So I went to essentially a seminar that he had hosted at the Post Oak Hotel a couple of years ago. And he was saying that, like, when you don't need money is the time that you need to be borrowing money, right? Because everybody wants to give it to you. The market is hot. They've got deposits. They need to deploy this capital. Money is cheap, right?
Yep.
To where he's, like you're saying, getting that $1 million from this bank, this bank, this bank, this bank. He might have, loans from 30 different regional institutions, right?
Yep. I got a plug for that one too, because I'm also in negotiation of owning a part of a loan company that I use because I am leveraging up right now because everyone's so hyped right now with this market moving.
Yep.
I mean, unemployment numbers come out next Friday, and if they're high, things will probably shift in the market because everybody thinks that we're going to have a soft landing. To me, it's like, ooh, it's too many people feeling that. But I'm even leveraging up. Do I need the cash? No. But there's, like, for us as Houston people, we have a lot of opportunities. We have disaster loans from the hurricanes, and you can borrow. Guess what? These loans are deferred for a year. Interest is deferred for a year. All you got to do is put that baby in a money market account, let it sit there, and if you don't use it for a year, give it back to them.
That's a great point. Yeah, and what's the rate on the EIDL?
4%. This one's a 4% with a deferred. Yeah. So it's just like, all right, this money market account makes 5.
Free money.
And it's deferred for a year. So I can hold it for a year, make some money, give it back if need be. But I want to leverage up as much as I can, just like you said about Fertitta, because everyone is too positive right now.
Absolutely. Well, how do you feel? So I'm half Mexican, right?
Yep.
I was raised in a Mexican household. And I guess my mom and my grandma always taught me debt is a bad thing.
Yes.
So tell me about, you're saying you're leveraged up.
It's an emotional thing, right? Okay. Because I think it's how you were raised. Like you just said, I'm part Hispanic too, and everyone's going to laugh because everyone knows I'm a chameleon, so I'll be whatever I want to be at the time, right? My last name's German, but my mom's is Italian, so I got Sicilian, but she's Mexican too, and Spanish, obviously, the Espada thing. I got English. Most people don't believe that one. I don't blame them. I mean, look at me. But, like, going back, I understand different cultures, though. Hispanic culture, heavy cash. Always have been, under the mattress. That's one of the most difficult people like to deal with as a culture when it comes to like our job, because they want to be cash heavy. Real estate and cash. That's their MO. The thing is this, it's like if you can handle the leverage and the debt and understand that it's good debt and how to use it and change your mindset, I think it would help out a lot of people. I think it goes back to one thing and one thing only. It's education. There is bad debt, credit card debt, right?
Yeah.
But this kind of debt, I just explained to you how I'm actually going to make money off the debt if I don't even use it. So like to me, it's an education and understanding of what kind of debt you're using.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, so I don't have any debt. My houses are paid off. My cars are paid off. And really what that does is that gives me the confidence and emotional peace in order to take massive risks in my business.
Yep.
And so although I might be leaving, let's say, $500,000 a year on the table because I'm not leveraged the right way, just that risk tolerance in investing in my business and alternative investments, I might outperform that $500,000 that I'm not making on this side, right? So,
but you're unique, right? So like you.
I am unique. Oh, thank you for noticing. Yeah.
You're established, and like it's great. I think if you didn't have any debt, That's great too.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's one way of doing it.
And that's why it's important to work with a professional that can understand your specific needs, right?
Yep.
Your family dynamics, your risk tolerance, your goals for the future, right?
Yep.
Because AI can't read everybody, right? There needs to be an emotional component tied to what the best fit is for you.
Well, money is very emotional. It's one of the most emotional things. That's why I love this business. And like I don't love it because the investing. I love it because I'm a certified financial planner, but I say certified financial person. Like I deal with people. It's an art, man.
Yeah.
Like charts, cool, but like it's dealing with people. Like how do you feel? Can you sleep at night if you were leveraged up like that? And if you can't, then don't do it.
I can't do it.
Me, I'll just take a couple magnesiums. And I'll just go to sleep.
Is magnesium code word for THC gummies?
No, not on this one.
Yeah. He's like ignore the DJ setup in the townhome.
I used to live in Denver, so yeah, you know what I mean? That's where I found myself the first time.
The ayahuasca retreat. That's good, man. Well, it's funny that you're talking about certified financial person.
I say persons too because I forgot the plural part because it's it's multiple people, right?
100%. So we have a candidate that's going in for a final interview with the founder and CEO of a 3.5 billion AUM RIA here in Houston.
That's huge.
And Michael Barish, he asked me, he said, what are some tips that you can give this candidate to go impress Luke, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's two types of associate wealth advisors in this industry. There's the ones that want to talk about stock, bonds, mutual funds, crypto, right? Leverage, all that.
Yep.
Luke wants to talk about your strategy to bring in assets to the firm.
Yep. Development,
right?
Business development.
Business development, because I think we all know that that's really the growth catalyst for any organization in our industry, right? Because it's like, you could be the best fucking hedge fund manager in the world, but if you can't market it and sell it to ultra high net worth individuals, then what are you going to do?
That goes back to like my dad.
48% on what? 120 million?
Yeah, well, that goes back to my dad again about my mom coming in and being business development. Like he was an accountant. Yeah. He's a great financial planner. But it goes back to literally what you just said, so we can bring it back from the beginning. Mom was the business development. There is no business without her.
So dad is the technician.
Yep.
He's the brains.
Yep.
And mom was the growth catalyst in order to bring his brain to market
Correct.
And sell it.
And he naturally can close because he's just a good dude. Yeah. And he's doing the right thing.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll never tell him that. Hopefully he doesn't see that part.
Well, good, man. So can you share a success story maybe from a client that particularly stands out to you?
I don't know if the success with clients. I think like to me, like I've never been I wouldn't say I'm not money driven. I look at it as energy, like putting energy in certain places. I think it goes back to when you and I were talking, and this has nothing to really do with finance, but it will one day. When I create, the shop even farther is more of the mental health impact I've had on my own employees and the people around me. I don't even call them really employees because because my goal is to make an impact on people, right? It's like, I think that's what you're now trying to figure out because you're like, I've already done this, I've already had the family. What you're really trying to do is now how much more of an impact can I make on people, right?
Yeah. I want to create legacy, man.
And legacy is huge. And I think my biggest accomplishment, and I still think it is that when I brought Dr. K in for his mental health to help each individual person for their own thing. Even my dad, who's like, what the hell am I going to do after retirement? Which is a real big issue for people in the industry. I think it's a big issue for everybody.
Yeah.
People work their asses off and then they're like, what the hell am I going to do? Because especially I think for men, because their entire existence is status of their career and their job. And when you take that away, holy crap, I hear it's worse than divorce. I saw a statistic about that. Can't quote it, but I remember hearing that. I think the biggest impact was personally impacting the people around me that are helping me with what I want to create.
Yeah.
So, and like seeing them smile, coming up to me like, you don't know how much you like helped me and changed me. And like that to me is more than like, oh, I just closed like a $2 million client.
Excellent.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you had your financial planning practice. You had a couple of producers around you, maybe some staff.
Well, it was really me just producing by myself. And now I just added another guy, Wayne.
Excellent.
And like, he just got on board and dude, he came in on Tuesday. It was his first day with the team. I was like, I needed you. Because, like, I
Excellent.
can't be the only salesperson. Because, like I was telling you before, I've been rebuilding. And I've been like, why aren't we growing? Why aren't we doing? Well, we've been reactive.
Yeah.
We've finally become proactive. And then when he walked in, he said, I want bring in business. Let's go. I said, I needed you this whole time.
Excellent,
But
man.
now the foundation has been built. Because when you go with the 10X Cardone, I've looked up the research, and like the ones that have failed is that they didn't create the foundation first. They grew without the
100%.
foundation.
Yeah.
You know?
Then it's chaos.
Yep.
You know, it's entitlement, it's ego. It breeds an inconsistent culture, right? From what I've seen. Excellent. And EOS was important for us to create that foundation of what you call it, right? And so in 2016, I brought in a COO. In 2017, he implemented the entrepreneurial operating system. We were probably about the same size as you. We were doing about 1.2 million in revenue. And then we put in processes, systems, accountability, right?
Yep.
We started to identify what were the roles that we needed in the organization in order to grow. And what we implemented in 2018, 2019, very different than what we're doing in 23 and 24. And it's going to be very different than what we're doing in 28 and 29. But constantly focused on becoming a better version of ourselves has allowed us to grow from 1.2 to now 12.5 million in revenue. Right?
That's huge.
Where we've got, 3 executives, right? 7 mid-level managers, and then a massive staff of 30 professionals that are revenue producers, right?
Yep.
That are creating that revenue, right?
And it's not just you and a couple other people. And like, that's where I wanted to get, but I wanted to make sure that the ship has been rebuilt before we go back out to sea.
100%.
There was too many holes in there. Unfortunately, Pops had everything in his big ass head. And I had to literally extract it without even asking him how to extract it. And I was like, holy shit, this is like doing the financials all over again. Like that took time, right? And we were getting to all these different things. I was like, holy crap. And like when I tell other people about, because they're like, oh man, you got to just get handed this. I'm like, nah, bro. Like clients could just bounce. They could. I mean, this is not like a restaurant where like, hey, I'm over. Like they don't like the people don't know. Like they know who's there and who's watching their money. Especially because I've known some of them since I was a little kid. But like, I wanted to make sure before we set sail that this ship is as ready as it can be.
You want to know what's awesome, man? When you do the math, right? Because I think that comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Correct.
And so you look at guys like me that are farther along in our entrepreneurial journey, and you might think, fuck, man, I'm missing out. Like, what's going on? Why did I not start this 4 years before?
Yeah.
But remember I said 2017, right? How old was I?
What were you? Like
33 years
you
old.
You were 33?
33 years old.
See, I always thought you were younger, man.
Yeah, isn't that? Yeah. I thought you were older.
No one's ever said that.
I'm messing with you. No, but the point is like, look at this growth trajectory that you're on for the next 7 years, man. And it's really exciting to know that you've got clarity around what you want, why you want it, but more importantly, how you're going to get there, right? And a big part of it is talent attraction, right? How do I get revenue producers that want to come work for Wise Capital Partners? Do they want to come work for me? Am I trustworthy, right? Do I do what I say that I'm going to do? But more importantly, do I say what I'm going to do, right? And I think that that's very important for you to be on, media outlets like this so you can spread the word of this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Come get on the ship, right? So,
and I think my biggest thing, and like that's why I went to the Next Gen FBA. Big shout out to FBA. I'm on the board, Financial Planning Association here in Houston. But I love the Next Gen because I'm so used to being around the Boomers and Gen X. This is the Millennials, Gen Z, and I think some Gen Alpha. I talked to this 18-year-old. It was like my age and a little older, but like. There's ones that we were over in Scottsdale. I was there for like 11 days. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I was like, oh my God, that's enough time in the desert. But they're wanting to come work over at Wise Cap. They're like, give me a couple more. I said, no. You keep learning from these big ass RIA shops and you come over here. But the reason why I think not only is the finance, like what we talked about, because I try to make everything fun, is that I'm always authentically myself. And you're going to get, and they asked me that the first time they met me, like, is this how you are? Even when you work, I was like, this is how I am all the time. Like I think and I want that for people. I want them to authentically be them because they will be more successful and happier.
Well, one of the challenges that you'll face, just because I know the industry, is you get a guy that monetized his construction company, right? Sold to a big company, and he's looking at you with his 45 million that he just cashed out. And he's looking at JP Morgan, he's probably going to want to go with the old guys in the tie that are in the high rise downtown. Right. And so you have to be perfectly okay with getting the Henrys, right? The high earners, not rich yet. Maybe they have 200, $300,000 in investable assets, right? You're not going to get rich on that on a managed money component.
Nope.
But if you can help turn his 300,000 to 13 million over the next 30 years of his life, right?
Yeah.
Now that really moves the needle for you.
And
so
we do
I think that finance could really penetrate that.
I think the big
market.
thing too, because I forgot to plug this in our structure, and which is newer and it's actually trending in our industry, is flat fee planning. We do flat fee planning too, so you don't even have to worry about the AUM.
Yeah.
So like we'll charge 10 grand for a platinum plan, 5 grand for a gold, and it just depends on where you're at in your career. So if all your money's in your 401k, that's okay. You could still pay for a plan.
Yeah.
Same structure. We just don't manage your money, but we still tell you what to do, which I think that you need to have that. Like you have to have like a mix, because like the millennials don't want to pay for investment management. But I said that's why when I said in the beginning you have to separate the two.
Yeah.
Let's talk about financial planning then.
Understood. Okay. No, that makes sense. Well, good. So what are some of the most common financial mistakes that people make?
I think spending too much money.
Okay.
Number one, I think also they don't understand their expenses. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I think investing, I mean, you could put your money in the S&P 500 and just be fine, right? But it depends on what you want. I think that's the biggest mistake, but I think and that's for accumulators, the biggest mistake with the wealth accumulate, like the I like to say the back nine, right? Retired, taking out way too much money, right? Money that you don't have, and I just had a conversation this morning with the team, and I was like, hey, XYZ, he's taking out 12% of his portfolio every year. Like this thing is going to be gone in like 8 years.
Yeah.
Like there's no way we're going to keep up with it, because we're not taking that type of risk, right? Especially when you get to your 70s, I'm not going to be, how I would invest you or myself, right? Like there's just no way I'm going to do that. You're living off this, but I can't keep up with that. Like there's no way. Yes, don't get me wrong. If I just put you in the market, from, last year and this year, you're like, oh, this is great. But if I did 22, you'd be like, what the hell? What if we have another 08?
Yeah.
I think everyone just, going back to market history, everyone forgot about 08 investing wise, because we had a 10-year bull market. And they're like, oh, this is fine. COVID was a black swan event. Let's not count that, because it's just, it's a black swan.
Yeah.
But this 22 was different with the great inflation.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest mistake people make is understanding that if you take too much out, like, what are you going to do? And like, that's what I've seen. I think a lot of people that we work with are pretty smart people. One of our niches is professors, so they're pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
But they also aren't as smart as you think when it comes to money. Some of them are, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they're great at their craft. Like, you can't be great at everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've got a friend of mine. She is a private wealth advisor, and she only caters to lawyers, physicians, right? Yeah. Because these are people that are extremely intelligent and well-educated, but are they going to go in and educate themselves on mutual funds? Probably not, right? They're focused on their specific niche, right? And so, it's important to identify that niche so you can be hyper-focused on penetrating those markets.
I would say last thing about biggest mistake is people don't have a plan. You go back to your Fertitta, like, you need a plan when you don't need, you need to have a plan when you don't need to have a plan, right? And like a lot of people that are, millennials are like, Wise, I don't need that. I'm investing. I was like, you don't have a plan though.
Yeah.
What if you put in an extra $2,000? We figured out like that would get you faster there in 10 years. You're going to come to me 10 years like, oh shit, I wish I would have done that 10 years ago, just to understand where you're at. Because some people, they have numbers, right? I have a great client. He's an executive, smart dude, right? He's like, my number is 12 million, Chris. I want to get to 12 million. I was like, why? That's just his number. That's just his number.
Yeah, why?
And I said, okay, you got 5 kids. And this is your expenses. You add inflation, you do all that. I said, your real number is actually like 6.8. I was like, I just want you to know that. He said, cool. But if I put this amount in, will I get to 12? I said, yeah. I mean, that's great for us too, right? But don't get me wrong. He's like, I'm still going to do the 12. I said, okay, but I just want you to know that if your number is actually 6.8, that's how much you need to live and live the life that you have.
So let's talk about these individuals that have these numbers, right? Because I'm faced with it, in the recruiting industry, right? I see it with my friends that are entrepreneurs. And so I'll just give you a couple of things. So, the most common one in the recruiting industry is 100K, right? I'll talk to a client success manager. She's been with her firm for 2 years. She's a great communicator, went to a good school like Texas A&M, 2 years out of school. She wants 100K. And it's like, you're making 71,000 right now, but she has this ingrained in her mind that this is a number that needs to be done. Right. And so I'm going to ask it in 2 questions. Right. And then I have buddies that have companies a buddy that's got a chemical plant, right?
Yep.
In Northeast Houston. Very successful, started about 7 years ago. His number is 100 million.
Yeah.
Right? 100 million. Dude, the enterprise value of your company might be 45 million today, but that's his number, right? That he thinks that it's worth. So us as human beings, why are we so obsessed with getting to this next level and not willing to be patient enough for time and maturity to actually evolve for us to get there organically? Why are we so obsessed with these numbers?
I think it's just the way that we're trained. I think humans are rational, and that we've been taught like 100K, like that's just, it's like triggering your brain, right?
Yeah.
Like you just love it. You're like, ooh, I need a beer. I don't know. There's just something weird about the 100,000 number, and I get that, and the valuations for a person.
Yeah.
That's a goal. I get it, but like to me, it's like you got to think deeper. That's so surface level. Like the 100K is crust, and you got to get to the fucking core.
Yeah.
And the core of it's like, where are you gonna go? Like, what if you worked 71,000 and you got paid 71,000, but you learned so much and you jumped to $250,000 like
exactly.
that?
No, that's a great point, because we are faced with that with our team, right? I've got a guy, I'll say his name. His name's Juan Zavala, right? Juan was a retail manager at Bath and Body Works for 11 years before he came to Encore Search Partners, right? 11 years. This guy's making like $75,000, in the fucking mall in his little polo sheet and his fucking khakis, right?
Yeah.
Working nights, working weekends,
Retail.
working holidays,
Yeah.
but he was successful in his specific industry, right?
Yep.
Good for Juan to recognize that I'm willing to walk away from this comfortable job, making 75 grand, go back down to a 52K base, entry level at Encore Search Partners, start over, and fast forward a year and a half, dude, he's smashing 75, right? With commission, 90, 100, 120, right? But he knew that I'm willing to take 2 steps back in order to take 10 steps forward. He got out of retail. He increased his confidence. He increased his physical appearance, right?
Yep.
His business acumen, his technical acumen, the way that he shoots his shots with girls in real life is completely different now, because he says he works at Encore Search Partners.
Yeah.
He's not a fucking manager at Bath and Body Works anymore.
Yep.
The growth trajectory in his life skyrocketed.
It's also his
and
attitude.
He took a 20,000 fucking pay cut.
Yeah, it's his attitude. But what was his big thing is what we're all missing is like he had a goal.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like, why is the number? It shouldn't always be finite.
Shouldn't always be.
I took jobs where I made less than, like, way less. Like I had to swallow, like, my pride a little bit. And it's a lot of an ego. But I think I just had really good mentors, and they were just like, Chris, like, don't look at that number that you're making out of college. Think about the steps you're going to take and where you'll be in your 30s. And I try to tell that to other people. I even, a guy that's been working with us for a while, Sewell, he's the fucking man, right? And he's my quant man, my numbers dude. Like, we couldn't be more opposite, right? Yeah. He's the technical and I'm the art, right? Yeah. And that's why we work so well together. I mean, he had to take a cut whenever he came. He was working with high net worth clients. Yeah. But you know what? We're talking about next year him being a partner. If he was over there, his ass would be no partner yet. He would still be just crunching numbers, doing it. He has a voice. He's like, I'm happier. Yeah. And like, I see, like, those are those kind of risks you have to take. And I don't know. I think a lot of people are just, well, what is a nice term of putting it? Like, they're just so far up their ass about how they deserve and they're entitled when they come out. Like, my dad told me, he's like, you don't deserve shit. You got an education. Now it's time to grind. And like, in the end, you just got to put your sweat equity. And I'm sweating right now, but I'm always sweating. That's why I'm DJ Sweaty over here, But like, that's just a natural thing. I'm not nervous. I just get hot because I got like an extra shirt over here. But I never really wear pants either. Except for nicer things and clients come in. Yeah. But anyways, I really think that that's an entitled thing. If like people found out how much I made my first couple years, they probably wouldn't even believe it. I mean, you're talking about like 30, 40. Coming out, and I was like, I wanted to be that 100, but then I was like, Dad's like, no, like, you want to do this, maybe you'll come take over, and Chris, you're gonna make as much money as you want. Absolutely. So just learn. This is a time to learn. I think that you see these people in their 20s, and they're just like, I want to be a multimillionaire, but like, they don't see the grind in between. They just see your trophies out there. They see Jeremy's trophies, like, that's all they see. Like, I want that, but they don't see what you've had to go through to get there.
15 years, man. Yeah. It takes time. When I first started my first company, that first year I made 81,000, the next year 212, then 297. And then we kind of figured something out, right? Tweaked the business model, 597, 780, 990, 1.2. I'll tell you, it took over 6 years to generate that first million in revenue.
Yep.
But once you have that figured out, right, and you've got the net income to deploy back to the R&D, reinvest in new technology, new people, right? That growth catalyst from 1.2 to 12.5 was almost easier. Than getting to 1.2. But the one thing that I did have, I'll say 2 things. Number one, I was like humility. I didn't think I was shit, even though I had motherfuckers telling me, Jeremy, you're so smart. You're so fucking great. Oh my God, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't fucking believe it because I saw these big people, right, with real money. So I just kept my head down, hustling and grinding. And then the other thing that I needed, let's get a little controversial here. Dude, I was married. I needed that structure and stability at home. I wasn't fucking swiping right. I wasn't wondering where I was going to take a chick on a fucking Thursday night. I was hyper focused on my business, dude. And I had that stability so I could focus, right, for 10 years. The problem is I made a couple $1,000,000 and then I started to get distracted a little bit and I fucked up.
Yeah, and you became the shit, huh?
Or at least I thought I was until I got kicked in the dick and realized, oh, you're not the shit, right?
There goes back to your humility back again, right?
Dude, I needed to be humbled. 100% needed to be humbled.
And like, I think, you know, if you can
and when you're married to Wonder Woman, I'll tell you, it doesn't fucking matter how much money you make, dude. She'll fucking humble your ass in a fucking second, dude.
Facts. And that's what I need though too, because I'm all over the place, man. I'm ADHD as hell. Like structure's good for me. I think it's actually harder. I think I go back to when I was in a relationship. Yeah, it was a little easier to focus because you're thinking like, what am I going to do for them? What am I going to do for the future? But now to me, it's like, all right, you know, like going through like the whole therapy thing. They're like, no. If you don't learn to do it on your own, it'll never work out for you in the future. It's just going to crumble anyway. So if you can't have a good foundation for yourself and structure, which is why I try to keep surrounding myself with people to keep me structured. Like I have a business partner too, Miriam. We call her Mo Money, Mo Solutions, baby. Like she was my dad's like Robin for the longest time, and she's a couple years older than me. And like, dude, talk about keeping me structured. She's just like, hey, Chris, like, are you sure? Like, she's like a big sister to me too, right? And I need that because I would, you know, I'm a gunslinger, man. Like, I'll go all out. Like, hey, let's take the risk. You know, I understand. I'll do my research. Don't get me wrong, but being impulsive, you know, like that's the thing though. I act. There's a part of being stubborn. There's a positive part of like you don't quit and you have grit. Yeah, you know what I mean?
100%. I'm the same way, man. We have very similar personalities. I think that's
minus the sweaty part.
But my Mo is Scott Kelly. You know, I hired him as VP in 2016. Then he became the COO. Then now he's the president of the company, right? And he's kind of like the, you know, if I'm the angel that's saying do it, he's the guy telling me everything that could potentially go wrong, right? In order to make sure that I don't get ahead of my skis, right?
She already did that this morning already. You know? She even tells me, she's like, what level do you want for me to get? Like, I was like, no, just be you.
Excellent. So I want to ask you, right? Because I'm in this new phase of life where I've got a business with great brand reputation, tons of repeat clients, a growth mechanism through digital marketing, business development, repeat clients, focus, subject matter expertise in 3 specific verticals, right? And so the business is generating, I'll just say, generational wealth year over year, right? Easily. And so now I'm in that evolution of like legacy planning, right? And I had this epiphany. I went to a legacy planning seminar in February of this year, and it was a 6-day seminar hosted by a group called Petra Coaching, right?
Okay.
And I had so much clarity around my legacy is not the numbers in the bank. My legacy is my last name, right? And I've got 3 boys that are straight A students, elite athletes, that are men of high character and integrity. They're confident. They treat their mom with respect. They're social. They have friends, right? They're competitive. They're inquisitive. They're grateful. They're resilient. My kids are motherfucking studs, dude.
Hell yeah.
And I look at what we talk about with regards to careers, right? Caleb wants to take over dad's business. Luke wants to own a gym. Daniel wants to be an MMA fighter.
Hell yeah.
Luke's also a singer. He's a musician, right? He's a martial artist. He's a fucking stud. And then I had this epiphany where it's like, why does my last name need to dominate one specific vertical, right? And so I've come to the realization that I want more kids, right? Maybe I want to see my name in Hollywood. Maybe I want to
Hell
see
yeah.
my name on Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
Or in the American Medical Association, right? And so I have this like, I don't know what the fuck it is. It's some kind of complex, but it's like, I think I might want like 7 kids out there, dude.
Do it.
Just all making waves, dude, because
We need more.
if I can teach them to be ambitious,
Yep.
competitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inquisitive, hardworking, strong work ethic, personal accountability, and growth mindset, I don't give a fuck what they do, dude. They're going to be elite in every single category. And so, anyways, what I'll ask you is like, what role does legacy play in the financial planning process?
You talking about like people's like my legacy or
My
just
legacy, your client's legacy? I don't know.
I think legacy is important to some people. Most people it is. Some of them are like, dude, they're on their own. I don't give a shit. Like,
really?
yeah, it just depends on the dynamic, man. Like
I'm not talking about wealth transfer. To me, legacy means something different than giving my kids each $10 million in a trust.
I think like legacy wise, like overall, I think most people want their kids to have a good life, but
Okay.
I think it really matters if the clientele.
Okay.
If you're an entrepreneur, I feel like that's more of like that style.
Yeah.
Because I think like most of them are like, hey, I'm going to give them money. They can do whatever they want with it.
Really?
But for a lot of entrepreneurs, like they're like, I want my kid. Like for me, I want them too as well. Would I ever do business with my kid? No, I'd rather invest after me and my dad. I kind of like thought about that too the other day. I was like, you know what? I'm doing this so you don't have to. I'd rather just kind of invest in it. But I think there is of course they want their kids to do well, but I have such a mix of some of them like they don't even talk to them. Some of them they're like what your feel. It's all over the place, man. Like, and especially if you get deep. For me, I'd want them to like, but you don't have to be in finance.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually why I didn't want to be in this business originally. I didn't want to be my father
Yeah.
because I was like, I want to be Chris Wise, not
Yeah.
Bruce Wise. And then I swear, man, I looked in the mirror one day and I'm wearing a suit with a American lapel pin with bull shark cowboy boots. And I said, oh shit, I'm Bruce.
Bruce
I'm
Wise.
Bruce Wise, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. And like
Yeah.
he's like, but I had to understand it. I didn't have. It took me a while to mature, and I'm sure people can tell. I have a very youthful personality.
Yeah.
What we actually do for a living, like we make, like I said, going back, making an impact. It's not about the
Sure.
investments. It was that, but I
Yeah.
think legacy is a huge thing for the entrepreneur clients.
Yeah.
Because they want to live on. Like I would love to see like a kid become a DJ, right? Like I
Yeah.
wish I could have done that.
Yeah.
And like it's
Dude,
not like it's too late for me. Steve Aoki would,
Yeah.
he would say something different. He's like, I started when I was like 33,
Dude. Well, my last name will live on far longer than the Encore Search Partners logo.
For sure.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think it's important for us all to recognize that, the reason why we started doing what we're doing in the first place. Right. And
Yeah.
So, and again, your reason is much different than mine, but mine was, to create financial freedom and provide the life for my family that I knew that they deserved. Right. Because I didn't have that upbringing.
Yeah, and like going back to that, and that's why I think of the responsibility for myself is that since my parents did do that together as a great team, my job's to make a bigger impact than they ever could. Like, I look at dad, single practitioner by himself. You went from a sole proprietor to a company now, right? To me, dad was capped. I'm not capped now with our legacy, and that's the reason why I named it Wise Capital Partners, because it is our name. And he thought, again, going back, that it wasn't the greatest idea. I say leave the marketing to mom. Like you stay in your lane and be a great technician. But like to me, like the Wise brand, that's why I say it over and over again. Like people come up to me and they're saying Wise Up, and they know, like they know what my last, like I had a dude come up to me at the conference and he said, I am not good with names, but I know your name.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, see,
I
and
love
like,
it.
and then it goes back because like one day my goal is to have hopefully have a son because don't get me wrong, I'd be glad with daughters,
Yeah.
but like I'm gonna have a Bruce because like
Yeah.
I want a Bruce. Like I was like because I don't want Bruce to ever leave, but I also want to
Yeah.
yell at Bruce like he yelled at me, and I said,
love
sorry, bro. Maybe he'll have a Chris, like.
I love it. Well, you know what's funny, man, is whether you realize it or not, but everything that you're saying right there, that's part of your dad's legacy, right?
Yep.
I don't want to make any assumptions, but I will assume that your father has done extremely well financially over the last 30 years in the capital markets.
Yep.
But what he's probably most proud of is what you just said right there. I want a little Bruce.
Yep.
Because how many motherfucking kids hate their dads, resent their fathers?
A lot.
Right? And I'll tell you right now, your dad is, I don't necessarily know if he's your business partner, but he's your predecessor, right?
Oh, we're not partners anymore. He's out. He actually tried to take the business back a month later. And I said, you signed it with the lawyers.
Yeah, but with that being said, I promise you that brings him more pride and joy than the 15 or 20 or $50 million in the bank, man, is you. It's what you're going to run with. You picked up the ball and you're going to fucking run it into the end zone, right? And I think that's really what's cool about family, passion.
It has its dynamic, and I tell people, like, I'm Bruce 2.0, and like what Dad did, I'm gonna do better, and that's all he could ever ask for. And he's told me that he doesn't. He's a man's man, so he doesn't get too. He's not like he's proud of me. Don't get me wrong. I have to hear it from other people, but kind of like what you just said. But like to me, like when I would say the Brucing, because I just I look in everyone's eyes. He always told me like you stare in their eyes, and like you'll find out everything. You can tell like it's like. He gets a little emotional.
Well, good, man. It sounds like I got a little bit of Bruce too.
Yeah,
well, good,
you do.
Man. Give me a story about something that somebody shared with you and it completely changed your mind about business or growth or something. A piece of advice.
I think a good piece of advice is just like living now. I think a lot of people look too much in the future, and I live that way.
Well, that's why your clients are taking out fucking 12% of their portfolio, man. That's bad advice.
Nice.
No, living now. So give us an actual example.
And living now doesn't mean finite. It doesn't mean money.
Let's hear it.
It means living life. And like when you wake up in the morning, just being just grateful that you're up. Like regardless of what you're doing. Like it doesn't matter. Like that's why whenever, let's say like I close something, we make, $100,000 for the firm just because we do this deal, right? Yeah. That didn't give me satisfaction. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, holy shit. I got another day. And I think like that living now is not meaning spending money. It means like being grateful.
So I'll piggyback on that, right? Yeah. So if I already know I have a plan, I'll give my experience share, right? I've got my wealth advisors, right? I've got my lawyers. I've got, all
the whole table.
My EOS coach. I've got everybody, right? We've also got a Wendy as well. His name is Tamer.
Hey,
Tamer Malati.
You got to have the Wendy.
You got to have the Wendy.
People don't realize how important the Wendy is. And a lot of advisors actually gave me shit because they said, before you get into yours, because I have to say this, because I know other advisors and stuff listen to you and stuff, is like, dude, they're like, what's the ROI? Yeah. And I was like, dude, you can't look at that. You can't quantify it. Yeah. There's no like, oh, I got a 10% return. No. No, when she looks at me and smiles and she's happy, that's the fucking return. Dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the ROI of you having a wife that lives a life of health and fitness? I don't know. You can't fucking quantify it, but she probably makes you a better person.
Facts.
Right?
That's why the motto is healthy, wealthy, and wise.
There we go. Excellent. But with that being said, what I'm saying is I've got all my advisors. Yep. Obviously, we have a plan. We operate on EOS. In our company, we've got our vision traction organizer. Mm-hmm. We know what our mission is, our vision is, what our values are. What's our 1 year, 3 year, 10-year plan? What are our quarterly rocks that we need to accomplish, right? What is our go-to market strategy? Who are our target clients, right? What is our unique selling point? I could fucking tell anybody about EOS. Well, guess what I did? I implemented it in my life, my personal life. I have a vision traction organizer. And the financial plan is obviously one component that's leading to that.
Yes.
So when you have so much clarity into what you already have in place, what you're working towards, right?
Yep.
It kind of takes the emotion out of a lot of the decisions, right? I know that I don't need to pick up that donut, right? Because I know what my near-term goals are, right? Yep. I already have a long-term growth strategy. I know who's going to be on that yacht with me whenever it's all said and done. Yep. So when you have peace and clarity around what the long-term growth initiatives are, you can fucking live in the now.
Yep.
Because you don't need to worry about, oh God, I threw out my back. Oh my God, it's the end of the world, blah, 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 blah. Hey, look, this is just the cost of doing business, baby. And I'm going to be grateful that I woke up today.
Yep.
And I've got the right people around me. I've got a good reputation, right? I've got children that love me, and I've got a voice where I can be a steward of information to people that give a fuck about what I have to say.
Yep.
Right? And so it's important to have a plan. That way you can live in the now.
It's because you're also it keeps you focused.
100%.
And like that's the thing, like you're not scattered all. Like when you wake up, you're not like, what do I do today?
No way.
You know what exactly you're doing because it is there. So there we're going. We're leaving the crust.
We're playing pickleball.
Yeah,
and we're hanging out with our friends.
Yeah, just don't get hurt. I saw it. I think I messaged you, but I was like, I think UBS came out with like I think for this year.
I saw that.
It was like $250 to $500 million worth of pickleball injuries. Yeah, I was like, shit, man. Well, it's because there's like 80-year-olds like getting after it. And then I saw that you got hurt. I was like, oh shit.
I couldn't wait to get back on the court,
dude.
man.
Those are ankle biters, man. They're gonna trip your ass real quick, dude.
We're good.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. Well, you know what? I want to ask you another question. So, can you share a time whenever, because you're a big personality, right?
Yeah.
Can you share a time of maybe when you had to like adapt your personality in order to like, I don't know, adhere to somebody else's style?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I feel like I can, and it's more, I think a lot of people don't think I can just because it's in group settings, because I just like how I naturally am. But if you're one-on-one with me, then I'll become a chameleon. I make a joke, especially if you're paying me, then I'll definitely be one. But really, when it comes to one-on-one conversation, especially when it's like very serious, I feel like that's something that my dad, I inherited from my father. People will come up to him and just open up. Dude, random people will come up to me and open up. And then I kind of get your energy and I try to match it. Because I have a lot, but then I just kind of hold it back. But I think in those moments is that you just really have to listen to them. Because sometimes they just want to vent. They want to talk about what's going on. But it can be challenging for me. And I'm like, listen. You know, because like I want to say something and then I'll have to like remind myself because I will interrupt only because I want to make sure that I get my point across. Kind of like the Gary Vee style. Like he kind of has like he kind of has to say it because I will forget. And I'm like, damn it. And I'll remember like 2 hours later. And it's just like, damn it, I wish I would have told them.
Yeah.
But I think it depends on the person and the situation. Especially we're talking about emotional stuff, estate, death, you know, things like that. Oh, you got to bring that energy low. You know, like I'm not coming, it's all good. Like life's gonna be like, I would never say that to someone like that. Like, no, I think just being a good listener, and that's something I've had to practice because as you can tell, I love talking. But I also like I'm very passionate. So I really want to get things out and not for the sake of being selfish, but for the sake of like, I hope that he caught on like what I'm trying to say or she caught on or whoever. Like I'm trying to make an impact and help.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like, I want to overtake because I'm sure you've been around people way wealthier than you. You can learn something from everybody. Yeah. Like going back to that conference, right? Like I'm a little older than them. I'm there and like, I've already done my time and maybe I should leave. Like you're like that super senior that doesn't want to leave. But it's like, they also need to see that next step. And I want to be there to be like, hey, like do this. I'm telling you, it'll skip you a couple years if you just listen to me. Like, go this route. Like, hey, like you're not enjoying what you're doing, and they don't listen to you. You need to fucking go. Yeah. Like it's gonna be this way for the next 2 years, and you're gonna wish you left. So I think it goes back to the one thing is just I know I've been talking a lot on it, but like listening and just understanding and being emotionally like I feel like a lot of people aren't emotionally intelligent and don't understand like people's like feelings. I don't know. I've always felt the vibe, bro. Like, I don't know why. It's just like I can feel it on people. That's a natural thing. Yeah. So I usually just tell people to listen.
Yeah. Well, good, man. No, you do a good job of it, and I kind of resonate with that match the energy aspect, right? Yeah. Because I have somewhat of a polarizing personality. I'm always authentic, and that authenticity is also bridged on maybe like the air of like arrogance a little bit.
I like to say cocky,
but I know that I'm the fucking best in my field, and I'll fucking tell somebody.
But that's so good for you though, because like that's your attitude, and you've proven it, and you have.
That's a great point.
You can be that way. To me, the people that annoy me are like they haven't done shit. I'm like, dude, come on. Like,
good. So, what piece of advice would you give someone that's maybe looking at starting their entrepreneurial journey? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I mentioned it earlier, but not in this sense, but like you just got to have grit. Yeah, a lot of grit. I don't give a shit how smart you are, how much money is backing you up. Like you're gonna get your ass kicked. Dad threw me to the wolves. That was his style, and I think it's a hard style. Hunting and killing is a hard style, in sales and everything else. Yep. But I think the biggest thing is just keep going. Yeah. Going back to the one day at a time, like step by step by step, and you are gonna fuck up. Like my best fuck ups is what actually helped me in my career not to do. And actually, what you should really do, and this is what I always tell people, is that learn from other people's fuck-ups. Oh, yeah. That's what we call wisdom, baby. Because your experience is your experience, but other people's experience is wisdom. Yeah. Like you tell me about your experience is now wisdom to me. And if you can learn that from other people, oh my gosh, like it's going to set you apart.
And it's funny because we talked about it earlier, but learning, wisdom, it all circles back to education.
Yep.
Educate yourself. If it's something that you want to invest your time, money, and resources into, educate yourself.
Yep.
I mean, education nowadays is not very expensive.
Right.
You've got YouTube, you've got, content creators that are producing amazingly curated content on something very, very acute on what you want to learn more about, right?
Yep.
So whether you're a visual learner, an auditory learner, a kinesthetic learner, there are mechanisms that exist in order for you to educate
So what's the
yourself.
caveat to
Get
that?
off the motherfucking cat videos, bro.
But I think Hormozy just, I love Hormozy.
Hormozy.
He dude, if he could, like, some people he rubs off the wrong way, but like Hormozy is just himself. And I love that he was just with Chris Williamson about, he finally said it, but I've been wanting him to say it. It's like, I love business, but it's okay if you want to take that break. I was like, that's all some of us need to hear from you, Hormozy, and he finally said it, but
he ain't gonna do it.
He ain't gonna do it, and that's fine. But it's like, I don't want to be you, bro. Like how you do it? No, dude, like
He's
that's
he's too jacked.
Yeah, like you too jacked, and like when are we going to Red Rocks? Like it doesn't sound like you're ever going. But just going back is real. I mean, I think you just got to find your purpose though.
Yeah.
Like if you can give it to anyone and try a bunch of things, man. 100%. Like just try a bunch of things. You never know what doors could open. Like what if I do financial planning and I end up cracking down and we do this? We're throwing festivals. And I just end up leaving finance. I'm just more of a who knows? 100%. But just be open to like everything. You don't know.
You're right.
You just don't know.
Yeah,
like,
a buddy of mine. So he's with me in the Entrepreneurs Organization, and he has a real estate private equity firm. He's a very successful real estate investor and developer, right? And he aggregates outside capital and buys assets. And he went and bought a fucking plantain farm in Guatemala. And this plantain farm, for whatever reason, like 90% of his workers are transgender people that work this plantain farm. Dude, the guy's been buying retail centers for the last 20 years of his fucking career, multifamily real estate. Yeah. But he had an opportunity to put this capital deployed in an area that he was not educated on, but this is probably like 80% of what he's excited about, right, for the future. And so have an open mind.
Yes.
Right? Educate yourself in areas and let the market dictate where you go. Now's not the time to buy fucking apartment complexes. Now's not the time to fix and flip $400,000 houses in suburban communities, right? But now is the time to deploy that capital in different areas as long as you're educated in it.
And there's a bull market somewhere.
100%.
That's the only thing I'll take from Kramer. That's, if you do like the inverse Kramer, I love that. Like if you do that, but it's not like he's investing his money. He has to entertain us, right? He's an entertainer, right? Like don't take it so serious, but like there's always a bull market somewhere.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is find it, and people probably didn't know that was even there.
Well, I hope I didn't blast him. Don't go buy a competing plantain farm. Well, good. So kind of in closing, tell the listeners, what are you most excited about over the next 90 days?
I think the most excited about is that we're finally able to grow, like for the business, right? I'll do personal and business, right? Business first, we'll get that done. But to me, it's like we finally are able to go, and we're now finally on the water. Like we're doing targeted ads, which is new. Financial planners don't do that, right? Most financial planners.
Fisher Investments does a great job of it.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Fisher does it, but they're not finance though. Like Fisher, like that's boring as shit.
They're
like,
old nants.
Yeah, like my gosh, But just the route. Now that I feel like now the team is ready.
Yeah,
and it's not just me having to do a lot, and like I'm finally been able to truly delegate, and do that. I think I can't wait. It makes me really excited about it, and I also get to be as creative as I want. I think that's what people are really wanting. It's not the money, man. I get to be creative.
Yeah,
like I get to like dictate where I want to go, what I kind of want to do, and like, ooh, let's try this. And then personally, man, I'm just, dude. I'm a firm believer in this. Like, it's not about the destination or the journey. It's about the fucking company, dude. And I have a great company around me. We could be in a fucking shack, like with the boys. Like I just did 2 fancy drafts. No matter how it could be this little room. I'm just glad I'm in the room with them, like,
man.
Forget about the destination and like, cool. It doesn't matter where it is. It's like, you could go to Hawaii, your destination, but you might feel alone, man. And like, the journey, you were grinding and you get there and then you're alone. It's just like, no, I've not been alone the whole time. Like when I win, everyone wins around me. And like, I don't have to talk about business with them. We can just talk about life.
Absolutely.
And like, to me, I think, don't get me wrong, you got your business friends too, right? Most of them are much older than me because like they've accumulated more, than my friends. But to me, it's about the company because in the end, like who's gonna like you can't take your money with you, but like at your funeral, like who's gonna show up and like
and
all,
who's gonna have the stories to tell for
Exactly.
generations to come,
and their kids are gonna know. Like my friends' kids all call me Loud Chris. You know, like there's 5 of us named Chris, so it's like I'm the loud one. You know, and they all start yelling like Loud Chris is here. I'm like, yeah, I'm here, man.
Awesome, man. Well, good. Well, you own it. You don't try to play any version of yourself that you're not, and I think that authenticity will continue to create success in your career. And hopefully your love life here.
Oh, yeah. Wise up, baby.
Wise up. See you, brother.
Thanks, man.